نادي عليا مظهر العجائب.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum to everyone, those who were here last week and those who are new. Welcome to the Nahjal Balagha book club. This is the second session. So we had an introduction last week in which we agreed that we're going to spend the next few weeks, inshallah, at this time, Monday evenings, to try and focus on Imam Ali alayhi salam, to learn about how he speaks and how he teaches us about this world and how he views his world and how we can learn from that. And every week we will gather at this time, inshallah, and we will go through really interesting or inspiring parts of the words of Imam so that all of us can learn from them. And so that for us, Imam Ali alayhi salam becomes someone who lives with us and who we can benefit from. We had a great session last week. I remember so many of you made some great points. And I mentioned that for today, please make sure that your mic is working. So that if you'd like to make a point, you can just use the mic and you can talk, especially if you have any questions or if I ask you a question. Similarly, if you don't feel comfortable or your mic is not working, you can use the chat. But for today, I asked if you could all make sure that that's working. So what I will do is later on, I will go around and make sure that we're all able to communicate. But first, let me give you a little rundown of what we're doing today. So first of all, I'll check in with all of you, inshallah, and see how everyone's doing. And then I'll mention some advice from Imam Ali alayhi salam, which is really helpful to all of us. Just some words from one of his sermons, his first speech, in fact, about Allah and how that can help all of us, inshallah. And then we will go through different sayings of Nahjal Balagha. So by sayings, I will ask all of you for the result of your mission. And your mission was to try and find a saying of the Imam which you like or which you were able to ask someone and you can bring to this group. Now, again, if you've not done it, that's fine. But if you have done it, this is your chance to go through it. And when that's done, we will then open up the same challenge we did last time of a journey into the sayings of the Imam, where I'll go through different sayings of the Imam and ask you, how do you think it finishes? What do you think the Imam is going to say? What do you think he means here? And just like last week, we'll discuss. I'll share my screen so you can see the presentation and we'll go through it. And then by the end, inshallah, all of us will have learned something from the Imam. Okay, now before I start, I want to make sure and check in and see how everyone is doing and just to make sure that your mic is working fine. So I'll just go through the names. Let me go from the top down. So Amina, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing? You okay?
Walaikum assalam. I'm doing good. Thanks. Alaikum shukr.
Alhamdulillah. Now, I know you, Amina. You weren't here last week, were you? Or were you here last week?
Oh, sorry, my connection was dropping. I wasn't here last week.
That's fine. So just so you know, if you have any questions or anything, you can always ask them during the session. And if you weren't here last week, you weren't able to do the mission for this week, that's fine. Don't worry about that. But thank you so much for being here, Amina. So next we have Abdullah. Abdullah, assalamu alaikum. Abdullah, if you're talking, I can't hear you. Abdullah Abbas, assalamu alaikum. Maybe he's not able to hear. Ali, assalamu alaikum.
Abbas Bhai.
Yes.
He said in the chat that his mic isn't working.
Oh, he did. That's the same person. Sorry, Abdullah. I didn't know that it was the same you. That's fine. That's fine. But it's good to see that you're well. Thank you for the message, Mustafa. Thank you. Ali, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, bro. I'm blessed. Ali, were you here last week in last week's session?
No, but I saw the session on YouTube, so I'm caught up.
That's amazing. You are most welcome to the group, inshallah. How old are you, Ali?
16.
Amazing. And where are you calling? Where are you from at the moment?
Slough.
Another person from Slough. That's great. Well, you're very welcome, inshallah. Thank you for tuning in, Ali.
No problem. Thank you very much.
At your service, my brother. Ashal, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm really well. I've missed you. How are you? How's your family? How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's good. Yeah.
All good?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you're very welcome today. I'm looking forward to your points, inshallah, later on and benefiting from you. So welcome, bro. Azan, Ali, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, so I'm good.
Azan, are you good? How's it going?
I'm good.
Where are you from?
London.
London. What part of London?
Barking London.
Barking. Okay, well that's great. I don't think you weren't here last week, were you?
Yes, I was.
You were? Ah,
Yeah.
well, you're very welcome, Azan. Good to have you back. My apologies for not remembering, but I will remember. And yeah, thank you so much for joining again, brother. Fahim, salamun alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Keeping well, keeping healthy, being good?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. Welcome to the book club. Good to have you back, inshallah. Fazil, salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
What is the latest with you? How's it going?
I am good, alhamdulillah. My family is good as well.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. That's great. Where are you from
How are
again, Fazil? I remember you told me. Where are you calling from?
I am from London.
The audio's not coming to me. It was East London, wasn't it?
It's West London.
West. Sorry, the audio was cutting, so I didn't finish the sentence. That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining, brother. Inshallah, salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you doing? How's your day been?
I'm good.
Good, alhamdulillah. Did you have dinner yet?
No.
All right, bro. Well, inshallah, after the session, you make sure you get some food. But it's great to have you here. Mustafa and Aiza, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
salam.
How are you both doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. Really happy that you guys are here. How are your parents? Are they well?
Yes, they're well.
Alhamdulillah. And you guys are being good?
Yes.
Yes, promise?
Yes, promise.
Okay, good, good. Well, very good to have you here as always. Shazeb, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How's it going, bro? You keeping well?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Looking forward to the discussion today, but it's really good to have you. Is everything blessed your end?
Yeah.
Good. Nice one. Thank you for being here, inshallah. And Zain, assalamu alaikum. Zain's in the chat, aren't you? Because your thing's not working. Zain, are you keeping well? Let me know that everything's good at your end, just so I know. Well, thank you so much, Zain. Really good to have you. And again, if you've got any points, you can use the chat. I will keep an eye on the chat because I know you and Abdullah aren't able to speak at the moment, so I will keep an eye. Was there anyone who I forgot who joined later who I didn't get to say hi to? I think that's everyone. Yes, everyone. Okay, I think it's everyone. I think we're good. Great. So let's get started, inshallah. So like I said, I'm going to give you firstly some very general advice from the book Nahjal Balagha, this amazing book that we are all trying to learn more of, from some advice from the Imam. And then we'll go through different sayings, the mission that you have done, and I'll share my screen so we can go through the sayings of the Imam, inshallah, and then we'll end the session. Okay, so really going to dive straight into some words, some beautiful words of the Imam. Now, if you've got any questions while I'm talking, feel free. You can unmute, you can raise your hand because I will be looking at the thing. You can unmute your mic to talk. You can raise your hands in the session. If you want, you can even turn your video on just so I can see you, or you can use the chat. I'm looking at all of them. But inshallah, we'll get started. Good to see you, Abdullah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. And Mustafa and Ayaza, good to see you too as well. Let's get started. Imam Ali alayhi salam has some really important advice for us in Nahjal Balagha, okay? And he wants to teach us about who is Allah. Now, the most important thing in this book, the most important thing in the Quran, the most important thing in all the things you're going to hear about Islam and in your life is the belief in Allah. That is the most important thing. Who is God? How is He? How do we talk to Him? Why do we pray to Him? Everything goes back to Allah. Okay, even the Imams, things they teach us goes back to Allah, all of it. And so the Imam this book begins with a beautiful sermon by the Imam about Allah. And he mentions so many beautiful points. One of them is, he begins by saying, all praise be to Allah, whose praise can't be known by all the people who speak. So imagine if everyone came together who can talk and they all said every single thing they can thank Allah about, and everyone took turns, all these people, Imam is saying they will not be able to finish praising just how amazing Allah is. They'll never end because there's so many amazing things that He has done for us. So he says that praise be to Allah that we can't even finish describing His greatness. Then he says, and even if all of the people who can count were to come together and try and count the number of His blessings, they would not be able to count just how many things He's done for them. So the word used is adun, which means people who count. Imagine loads of people with like calculators, and they're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. How many things Allah done for me today? Well, I woke up this morning, I have health, I have wealth, and they're counting everything. Imam says, even if all the people who can count were to come together in one place and count all of the things they know about Allah that He's done for them, they'll never be able to finish counting the blessings that He has done. And then he says, so the people who speak, the people who count, he says, even if all the people who are trying to tell each other about what Allah has done for them, let's say all of them, those people met together, and they started discussing and debating, even they would not be able to discuss and finish describing the amazing things Allah has done for him. Why? Imam continues, because Allah is so great and He's done so much for us. Our minds can't even understand just how amazing He is. That's how great He is. But of course, we begin Nahjal Balagha and we begin our sermons, we begin our days by praising Allah every morning when we pray, or when we say Assalamu alaikum. We are remembering Allah when we speak to each other, because we should always try to praise Him, even though we will never finish praising Him and will never mention everything He's done. We can at least try. So that's what Imam is doing. Imam is just trying. So he says there's no description for him. We don't even know everything that he has done. There's no speech that we can say that will copy and that we can tell each other about everything that he's done. There's not enough time in the world to go through everything he's done. There's no duration that we can go. There's no place that we can go to finish praising Allah. He's the one, Imam says, who dispersed the winds. He blew into life all of existence through his winds. And he made firm the shaking earth with giant rocks and mountains. He did that. And we can't even measure up to him. But what we can do, Imam says, is just to acknowledge and accept and say, Allah, I follow you. I accept you. And I love you. All we should do is just accept him. And Imam says, when you accept him, that means you'll speak about him. And when you speak about him, Imam says, then you'll believe in the fact that he is one. And when you believe that he is one, you'll see that he's pure. And when you see that he's pure, you'll not make any mistakes in trying to understand him. And when you don't make any mistakes in understanding him, it is then that you will have proof in your heart about who Allah is. Meaning that when you're praying your namaz, you will feel Allah when you're talking to him. And when you're doing some dua, you will know exactly who you're talking to. We'll get to that stage, so long as we accept Allah. This is some beautiful advice from Imam Ali alayhi salam for everyone. And the advice is for all of us to recognize that we can't finish praising Allah, but we should try. Okay, let me ask all of you a question to make sure that you are understanding. So this is for anyone who's listening. Please unmute your mic, or you can use the chat. If someone did try to praise Allah and praise everything about Allah, like every single thing, why can't they finish in praising him? What's the problem? Why can't they finish? I see a hand raised by Mustafa. So Mustafa, if someone was trying to praise Allah, why can't they finish? Why can't they mention everything? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Because Allah has bestowed us with so many things that it is like infinite, infinite of His mercy. So His infinite mercy is like our blessings.
Exactly, it's infinite. Infinite means what exactly? It means
like it never ends.
Exactly, it never ends. And just like I mentioned, those are all ways Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying you will never finish and end his blessings, but we should start. Okay, great. Any other points, by the way, from anyone about what will happen? Why it is that we can't finish all of the things Allah has done, why we can't say all of them? Anyone got any ideas? Abdullah, I see your hand raised. Are you going to use the chat, or are you going to, yeah, you can use the chat and write it, or you can speak if your mic's fixed. But if it's not, then yeah, I'm looking to the chat. Why is it that we can't finish in praising Allah and everything that He's done for us? Because Allah grants everything and does the best for them, but also gives so many blessings that we humans forget some blessings, but we should try. Exactly, we forget sometimes. And the only blessing of Allah, sometimes like we forget things that we do for each other, like our parents or our families or our teachers. We don't even remember sometimes. So that's a really great point, Abdullah. Thank you for making it. Sometimes we just forget. Great. And like I mentioned, the bit I want all of you to take away from this is the first part where the Imam says, if all the people who could talk decided to talk, they wouldn't finish talking about Allah. And if all the people who could count came together and started counting, like let's say with calculators, they wouldn't finish counting. And if all the people came together who were trying really hard to describe, they wouldn't finish describing. So it's not the case that we haven't got time. It's the case that Allah is so great that we would never finish. But of course, we should try. That's all I wanted to say to you from the Imam's advice for today. And we'll carry on with the Imam's advices for us next week. Now to our mission, okay? Our mission is, I asked all of you last week, those of you who were here, I would like for you to learn about a saying of the Imam, maybe a quote or something that you heard about him, and find out and bring it back to us. Now, just so I know, could you please raise your hand in the chat or write in the chat if you were able to find a saying of the Imam? So Amina's got one, Fazil's got one. Zain, your hand is raised as well, and Ashal, amazing. And Fahim as well, great. And if anyone else has got one, you can raise. But there's a question also in the chat from Abdullah. I have a question. Thank you, Abdullah. If some people couldn't talk but could count, where would their place be? Would they be counted in the people who could talk and count? This is a very good point. Actually, it's a very beautiful point because there are 3 different words used by the Imam in Nahjal Balagha. There's those who can talk, qa'ilun. There's those who can count, aadun. And then there's those who are trying really hard, mushtahidun. And they're all different groups. The first group are just trying to talk. The second group, they're trying to count. The third group, they're trying really hard. They're striving to describe. And none of them would finish in their own task. So there's not enough words, there's not enough numbers, and there's not enough description. So that's what they're all different groups, and they've all got different place, and they would never finish. They would never finish in their respective tasks. I hope, Abdullah, that answers your question. If not, you can write a follow-up just so I know, and that's fine. So we've got a mission that some of you were able to accomplish in finding a saying of the Imam. Is there anyone who'd like to go first and tell us what that saying is that you learned? You can unmute yourself if you want to go first, or I will go.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you can go first, Ashal. Go ahead, bro.
So when Imam Ali was asked about faith in religion, he replied that the structure of faith is supported by our 4 pillars: endurance, conviction, justice, and jihad.
Beautiful. That is a wonderful saying. Do you know what number? I think it's like saying 30 or something. Or 20.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That's a great saying. So if you want to have faith, like be a good Muslim and have Iman and these things, you've got to have 4 things. Ashal, could you go through the first one, please? What's the first one? The first pillar of faith?
Endurance.
So what does it mean to have endurance, do you think?
So like, does it mean like taking in everything and doing everything correctly?
Yeah, it is not doing it correctly, but being able to endure whatever's coming at you. It means you can bear it. So if you've got good things, bad things that are going at you, you're going to be fine. You endure through all of those things. Because being a believer, being a Muslim, doesn't mean life is going to be easy all the time. Sometimes it might get hard. It might not be easy to say to someone, I'm a Muslim, or I like to pray, or I don't listen to that kind of music. It's not always easy, but you endure, you keep going. And that's one of the really important pillars. What's the second pillar, Ashal?
Conviction.
Conviction. What do you think conviction is? If anyone knows what conviction is, you can use the chat and write it. What do you think is conviction?
Conviction. So like, does it mean like when you tell other people what the good things are and what the bad things are?
Part of it is definitely telling others, but conviction means to have strength, to be strong in what you believe in. So part of that might be telling other people just so they know what you believe in, or helping and encouraging them to do good, or trying to discourage them from doing bad. We have amal bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Amr means I'm encouraging you to do something good. Like let's say you're reading Quran. I'm like, I shall read more. It's really good for you. And let's say I see that you see that I'm doing something wrong. You can say, Abbas, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. I'll be like, okay, thank you for telling me. Conviction means you're strong in what you believe in. Yeah. So that's the second pillar of being a good, faithful person. Thank you, Ashal. What is the third one?
Justice.
Justice. Now, what do you think justice is?
So does justice mean like when your legacy is very strong and you're not giving up, and like you don't back down at what people say are impossible?
That is a wonderful description of conviction. The second one just before. Justice is a little bit different. Justice is about being fair and treating everyone according to what is right for them. So it can be about being strong, it can be about being soft and but mostly it's about being fair. So if someone asks you your opinion, you are honest about them. If you're judging between two things, you try and judge them fairly. You don't judge people, but you evaluate, meaning you think, what is the best thing for me to do right now? It's putting everything in its proper place. So justice means you spend some time with your family, some time with your friends, sometimes worshiping Allah, sometimes playing like sports, whatever, like playing your games. It's giving everything its own right amount of time and the right place. So that's justice, being fair. And people should say to you, I know Ashal, he's a fair person, he's just. So that's what justice means. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Great. And what is the fourth pillar?
Jihad.
Great. Now, what do you think jihad means?
Is it like staying strong against other people when they say like really bad stuff about you? So like when, let's say, somebody says a mean comment to me, I'm staying strong and I'm just ignoring that and I just concentrate on whatever I have to do.
Yeah, that is a great description of one of the things of jihad. Jihad is about striving, right? And the main jihad, the biggest jihad, is trying to be a good person. So if you're facing like people telling you things that are not right, or you are trying to be the best version of yourselves, jihad means that you really try hard to be the best person, the best way that you can. And part of jihad is also if you see someone in front of you who's being hurt, you try and defend them. You don't let them get hurt. So jihad also means that you stop someone from getting hurt. Now there are a lot more features, but the one you mentioned was the best one, that it is about how you treat people and how you treat yourself. There's a question on that by Abdullah, which is, would that mean that if a ruler is asked a question by a few townspeople, he is not fair, but he's fair to other people and keeps people safe, but neglects those people and their wishes for a reason, crime? Yeah, so it applies to a ruler as well, Abdullah. It applies to a ruler who rules a townspeople and they come to him and ask him questions and what should we do? And he addresses and he gives them judgments. And he's got to make sure that it's not about what they're saying, it's about what is the right thing to do. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, whenever he was a judge, if someone came to him with a problem, he wouldn't think, who's this person? Do I like them? Do they like me? No, it's what is fair, what is honest. And that is what is a good ruler does. Mustafa has written on this, can justice be like a sacrifice no matter how big? Definitely. Part of justice is sacrifice. And sacrifice means when you really like something or if you want something, but you don't do it for a bigger reason. So if you're fasting in the month of Ramadan, you might like food, you might like drink, but you will not eat and drink because you will sacrifice those things because you want Allah to be happy with you because He knows that you have fasted. That is a kind of jihad. Jihad means to try hard. And it might be hard to wake up in the morning to pray or to fast or to always tell the truth, but these things are part of our relationship to Allah and having good faith, like Ashal mentioned. That is a beautiful narration. Ashal, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to like explain how like saying to other people like as a suggestion, like stay strong, don't listen to other people or what they say or what you want to do and what you want to do in life. Like if they say like you want to become something that you want to be and they say that you're not good at it, just forget about them. You want to concentrate on what you think is best for yourself.
You are so right. That's exactly how we should be. If you believe in something, believe in it, do it. Even if people tell you that it's wrong or you shouldn't do it, as long as you believe and you have looked that Allah wants this from you and that is the right thing for you to be, don't get discouraged by people trying to bring you down. That's a really nice point, Ashra. Thank you so much. Abdullah has asked, what if the ruler is not experienced and gets confused and doesn't grant people their wishes because he doesn't know what's good for them? That's why, Abdullah, only those people who can be just should be in power. Only those who can be fair should go for power. Otherwise, the rest of the people, just like you mentioned, they might come confused. They might not know what to do. And the right good leader is someone who can do right by people. Great. Next narration from either Amina, Fazil, Zain, or Ali, or anybody else. Do any of you want to unmute and mention yours?
I can go.
Go ahead, Amina.
So-
What is the saying of Imam Ali Islam that you have learned?
So Amir al-Mu'mineen, peace be upon him, said, if you're met with a greeting, give better greetings in return. If a hand of help is extended to you, do a better favor in return, although the credit would remain with the one who was first.
That is a lovely, lovely hadith. I really like this one. If someone comes to you with something, you do in return even better. Can you think of an example of that in the one that you mentioned? Is anything where if someone comes to you, you should return in a certain way? Because the one I'm thinking of is when you say salam alaikum. So when someone says to you salamun alaikum, you say wa alaikum salam, peace be on you, and peace be right upon you back. But there's so much reward in being the first person who says salam. Amina, could you read the last part of the saying, please?
Although the credit would remain with the one who was first.
Exactly. So when you're saying salam, I have to answer to you wa alaikum salam. Like I have to answer. But you still get more rewards for being the first person who says salam to me. So like to all of you, whenever you're with your friends or your family, if they're Muslim, for example, be the one who says salamun alaikum. Now they'll say, and peace be back, right back at you. But you're the one who gets the rewards because you're the one who gave them that peace. And that is what Islam is giving peace to each other. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. And there's nothing more beautiful, like I want to mention, like giving the salutation of peace to somebody. Thank you so much for explaining. Anything that you wanted to add on that, Amina? No, that's fine. If not, that's a great saying for all of us to learn. I've seen one written in the chat by Zain. Every person who is tempted to go astray does not deserve punishment. This is a very interesting hadith that you have found, Zain. Would you like to write in the chat what you think that means? Why is this something that we can learn from? Everyone who's tempted to go astray does not deserve punishment. Why is that? Why would Allah want that from us? I'm interested to know what you think, and then I'll mention what I think. If anyone else wants to add something on this in this hadith, you can. And Abdullah has written in the chat about the rewards for saying salam that you get. You might get 69 thawab, the other person might get 1 compared to how much reward you get. Exactly. That's how we've all got to be. But Zain, this beautiful, beautiful hadith, why did you like this one so much? What do you think about it? That everyone who's tempted doesn't necessarily get punishment. While Zain is writing, maybe I'll mention what I think. It is very normal and natural to want to do something wrong sometimes or get tempted to do something wrong. We always get these voices sometimes. It's quite normal. And it's not always easy to do the right thing all the time. It's not always easy. Like Zain's writing, Shaitan is constantly tempting us as humans. So it's not our fault. Exactly, Zain. He's always getting that temptation. It's very normal and natural to not know or not feel strong enough to do the right thing. But the important thing is it's not about that voice. It's about what you do. So if you choose to follow that voice, then maybe you might get punishment. But if you choose to say, no, I can feel this temptation. It's really hard on me, but I'm not going to listen to it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to stay firm to what I think is right. And it's hard. And I know it's hard because I can feel it's hard, but I'm just not going to follow it. That is when you don't get punishment. In fact, you get reward. You know something? You get more reward for not doing something wrong than doing something right. We have in one hadith. So it's not about trying to do as many good deeds as you can. It's about trying to not do as many bad deeds as you are tempted to. And this is why I really like this narration from you that you mentioned, Zain, that not everyone who's tempted to go astray deserves punishment. Thank you so much for that, Zain. Fazil and Ali, you guys have your hands raised. Which of you would like to go first to mention a hadith you found? Go ahead, Fazil. Your mic's unmuted.
So this is sermon 160, and it's called The Winter. So it's basically a khutbah by Imam Ali alayhi salam. I will tell you about Jesus, son of Mary. He had a stone for his pillow, wore coarse dress, and ate rough food. His lamp at night was the moon, and the vast expanse east and west, his roof during winter. His desert and relish were what grows for his cattle, his feet his means of transport, and his 2 hands his servant. And also I got 2 messages from the saying. He was always satisfied with everything little that he had. And the second one is he was independent and not reliant on others to do chores for him.
That is amazing. I really, really, really like this sermon, this saying, especially your first message. Like, he doesn't need all of the things to make him happy. He doesn't need a big house. He can sleep on the ground, right? He doesn't need to have all these big lights because the stars are his lights. So he's satisfied with a little bit. And that's how we should all be. Like this hadith that Fazil very beautifully mentioned. We don't need everything in the whole world to feel good about ourselves. We just need to feel something inside. And that thing inside is that peace that Jesus in that hadith mentions. Because as all of you know, Jesus, Prophet Isa, is an important part of our religion. And we have that in common with other religions, that they also think is important. Now, we believe different things about his role. For us, he's a prophet, Jesus, he's not God, but he has so many important teachings. And one of them is living a very humble life. Fazil, what was the second message that you found from that saying?
He was independent and not reliant on others to do chores for him.
Why do you think that's important?
Because you should not always rely on others to do things for you. You can get up, do things on your own. You should make use of your own body.
Exactly, because God's given you that body, he's given you that time, right?
Yes.
I really like this message. You did really well. I like that you thought about it and you gave your view, because you're right. You are so right. If you can do something for yourself, you should just do it. You shouldn't need people for these things. The only one who, yeah, go on.
Like drinking a cup of water, you can just go fill your cup of water and drink it.
Exactly. Now, what you can do is you can offer for someone else, would you like some? That's always a great thing to do. But if someone, no one should think that you need to be the one who asks someone, can you bring this for me? You shouldn't need people like that. There's only one being that you need, and that is
Allah.
Allah. Allah is the only one who you actually need, because he's the one who answers your du'as. He's the one who will bring you knowledge, and he will bring you rizq and barakah and blessing. That's on him. He's the one we need. We don't need anyone else. And it's from our need of Allah that we learn to accept help from other people, but we know it's from Allah. So for example, if you're going to school, you don't need your teachers for knowledge. You need Allah for knowledge. But Allah has given you those teachers to give you knowledge from him. For example, he has all these different ways of giving you different things, but he's the ultimate one who helps you. So listen to your teachers, by the way, do your homework, do your readings, but remember who is the one who you need. Fazil, amazing work. Ali, my dear brother, your hand was raised. I apologize that you are last. What saying have you learned from the Imam that you'd like to share with us?
Thanks. So I found a saying from Imam Ali, and it is, do not let your difficulties fool you with anxiety. After all, it is only in the darkest nights that the stars shine more brilliantly.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes, it's a nice saying.
It's a really nice saying. Why did you like this one?
I don't know, it feels sort of like inspirational. It's got sort of a nice ring to it, I guess, if you want to say it like that.
Yeah, and it really touches you. It's only in the darkest nights, we go through dark nights all the time.
Yeah.
That is nice. That is a very lovely. And Fahim, I can see that you got the same one as well. Fahim, write in the chat, please, why you like this one as well. But Ali, could you mention the beginning part again? I want to ask you a question, but mention the beginning of the saying, please.
Do not let your difficulties fool you with anxiety.
Sometimes we go through difficulties in life which are hard, and we allow it to affect us, and then it can become like it really bog us down. What do you think is a good way that we can not let our difficulties have that effect on us? Based on this hadith, how do you think we can kind of keep light from that effect?
I guess if you divert your attention to something that matters more important, so something that is more important to you. So I guess a good way of doing that could be, using sort of the Quran and Allah as a sort of tool to help you in your difficult times. But I guess it could really be anything. Like if you play a sport, you could divert your attention to that sport and focus on getting better to sort of take your mind away from the difficulty.
I agree. This is a good method, because your difficulty is not the most important thing in your life. There's other things that you are and that you can do. Now, it could be religion, it could be playing with your friends, it could be anything, but you are not defined by how hard things get for you. Because like we mentioned, it's only in that darkest night that the shine's bright more. It's only when you're going through difficulty that you will shine, and you will shine. But allow yourself to endure, like we mentioned before in the hadith from Ashal. Endure meaning you're going to get through it. Stay strong, and Allah will bring you into the light. And like Fahim has written to me in a message, it tells you to be strong and get through difficulties because Allah is there for you. That's a really lovely point for him. Allah is there for you, and He's the one who won't leave. That's great. Ali, anything that you wanted to add on that?
No, not really. I just wanted to sort of share the quote.
Thank you so much for sharing, brother. Alhamdulillah. That is a beautiful quote. And well done to everyone. If you had any feedback, or if you wanted to share your thoughts, you can write them in the chat. But let us now move on to the final part, which is my favorite part, which is journeying into the sayings of the Imam. In this part, we look at different sayings of the Imam, and we dive into what they mean and what we think the Imam is trying to say. Okay, so this is week 2. I'm going to read a part of some sayings of the Imams, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think comes next, or what do you think the Imam is trying to say? Now, by the way, I can't see if your hands are raised here while I've got this presentation, so you can unmute and you can speak freely, okay, because I can't select you. But let's start. First question: why should you always think before speaking? Why is that important?
Can I say?
Go ahead.
I think you should always think before you speak, because if you don't contemplate on what you're saying, your what you say might hurt someone's, because you've just spoke abruptly without any like contemplation, and that can cause a misunderstanding, because you mean something else, but you've expressed it in a different way, which can cause
misunderstanding, like you said,
yeah.
right? Yeah, that's a great point. You can cause misunderstanding because what you want to say, you might say the wrong thing and someone might get the wrong message, and there could be an argument, or they'll get you wrong. So that's great. Always think before you speak. Great. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Why do you think it's important that you think before speaking?
So that you don't hurt anyone, or it's like if you're doing a sermon, you don't keep on panicking in between. That's why you should think in your head that this is what I'm going to say, and then you say it out.
Exactly. So to not panic. Great point, Fazil. To not panic, because you've taken some time, you've thought, and then you've spoken carefully, and you've used words that you want to use to make a certain point. So you don't panic.
And also all the other people that are there will enjoy it, because it's a very flowing voice, and you're not like some in between.
Beautiful point, Fazil. They will enjoy you more. So if you've got something that you've got to say, by the way, to all of you, the things that you're thinking, they are important and they matter. Your ideas, your thoughts, like we want to hear, and everyone should be able to feel free to just speak what you want. And I promise you, you should surround yourself with people who want to listen to you. But that's why you stop, you think, how do I say this? And then you say it. And then you allow the beauty of your ideas to flourish and to spread and to trickle across all of the network that you have and the people that you know. Great points, Fazil and Mustafa. Anyone else want to add why you should want to think before you speak? No? Let's go. If you're in the chat, I apologize because I can't read it. Hang on, Abdullah. Let me see. Did you write something? Because you might hurt someone or say something wrong. Thank you, Abdullah. Definitely you could hurt someone. And we don't want to be someone who's using our tongue like a vicious beast, like the Imam says in a different place. So that's good. What does the Imam say about this? He says that the heart of a fool is in his mouth, while the tongue of a wise man is in his heart. So a fool is someone who his heart's on his tongue. He just speaks, doesn't think. He just talks whatever's in his heart, meaning whatever he feels without thinking it through. But the tongue of a wise man is in his heart. His tongue is in his heart. So he has a very close connection between what he feels and what he says, and he thinks. So the heart of a fool is in his mouth. He just says it. But the tongue of a wise man is hidden inside his heart. He's kept it close to him, and he'll only use it when he knows how to speak and what to say. That is a wise man. So if you, this is a nice saying, it's a nice punchy one if you can remember it. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, and the tongue of a wise man is in his heart. Think about it, and try and be like the wise man who thinks, who feels from his heart and then speaks his feeling, not like the fool who doesn't think, he just talks and talks and talks without knowing what he's saying. Okay, great work. Let's go to the next one. Having something, gap, makes you the richest person in the world. What do we think is the true source of wealth?
Can I say?
Mustafa, go first, and then Fazil, and then anyone else. Go ahead, Mustafa.
I think knowledge.
Knowledge. Good answer. Good answer. Fazil, what were you going to say? What makes you the richest person?
Making you the richest person is being very good and getting all the rewards from Allah.
So having reward, like being someone who gets reward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abdullah thinks
I
faith.
mean, what I meant to say is getting more good deeds makes you the richest person in the world.
Getting more good deeds, because the more that good deeds you get, it makes you more and more rich. Is that what you mean?
Yes, it makes you a better person.
It does. It does indeed. Lovely point. Anyone want to add?
And it's and also the rich, the money is like the reward is your money. So you're going to get, so you're going to be the best. So it's like having, what was I saying? Having more good deeds makes you the richest person. So it's like the money is the reward. So having more good deeds makes you the one with the most reward in the world.
But then, are you saying that you still get the money and that's the reward, or the good deeds is the reward?
The good deeds.
Okay, good. That is a nice point, and definitely it's good to have that order. Azan's listen, I think it's being patient. Azan, why do you think patience means having richness, having wealth? What's so amazing about patience? You can use the chat, or you can speak. And while you're doing so, I'll ask all of you a question, which is this. We've mentioned some really good riches that you can have in your life. You can have, you can be intelligent, like we mentioned. You can have good rewards. You can have patience. You can, all of these things. One thing which could take us away is anything which stops us from being patient, being wise, being, getting good deeds. Something which might get in the way. So maybe there's something which we don't want, which will take away our good deeds. Who can think of something which will stop us from doing all these good deeds, something which stops us being patient, stops us from being kind? What takes that away from us?
I see.
Go on, Mustafa.
It doesn't really make sense in this sentence, but like having arrogance.
Arrogance definitely will stop us from having good deeds like patience. Abdullah, I see your hand raised. Lying and backbiting, also getting on people's nerves. Another thing. So being stubborn, lying, backbiting, all these things that we might want could stop us from this wealth that we're trying to get. Good. Anyone want to add anything? What we want is to be free to be wealthy, to be free to accept Allah's blessings. And like you guys are mentioning, there are some things that take that away from us. So in Imam's answer, he says that the best of riches that a person could have is the abandonment of desires. So desires are things like the cause of lying, backbiting, getting on people's nerves, being stubborn, being arrogant, because we are wanting something. We are wanting to not tell the truth. We want people to admire us. We want people to think we are great. We want to not follow this religion. We want all these things. Imam is saying, get rid of that want from you. Get rid of that want that is taking you away from you. And then you can accept all of the good stuff we're talking about. So good deeds, you'll be able to do them much easier. Rewards, you'll get them much easier. Good deeds, it'll be much easier for you to do because you're no longer following desires that are taking you away. So in the words of the Imam, the best riches you can have is abandoning these desires, like getting rid of those voices in you and not listening to them that are attracting you to things that you shouldn't be following. So that's the Imam's word on that, and is a nice perspective for you to think about. Would this word desires also link to the winter in Nahjal Balagha? It can also mean that you are not sinning and listening to Iblis. A beautiful point, Abdullah. That is a really lovely point. Our desires listen to Iblis, to Shaitan, as he whispers to us. And like we looked at that beautiful sermon that came earlier, it is that winter. And as you're saying, as unwritten, the knowledge dispels the excuse of those who advance excuses. By being patient, you work harder and harder until you're satisfied with the amount of money you have, and then you become rich. Great. But the important point, Azan, is money is not what makes us rich. It is the knowledge before that. It is the patience before that. It's all of the other things, and that makes you rich. And just like you saw Prophet Jesus, he didn't have money and wealth. He was content with sleeping on the ground. He says, I am the richest of all, because what he had was no desires to take him away from this path. And that's the richness we want. We don't want to desire anything else. We just want to desire Allah. Great teamwork, guys, in understanding that word desire, because it is the most important word in that sentence. Okay. What happens when you make friends with somebody who is foolish? Now, here by foolish, what we mean is not someone who's not that intelligent or is not that clever, because a lot of us are like that. Foolish means someone who doesn't think about other people and their actions. They don't think. So like we mentioned earlier, maybe they just speak without thinking, or they just do without thinking, but they don't stop and respect and give rights and justice to those around them. They're being foolish. They're not respecting those around them. If you're friends with someone like this and that kind of energy is around you, what might happen to you if you're surrounding yourself with them? What do we think?
It's easy for you to become influenced by them.
Great point, Amina. If you're around them, they could influence you, either on purpose or not on purpose. On purpose means you're copying them, because if someone does something, you might want to copy them and try and be like them. Unintentionally means that they might do something and that influences you to do something as well. So for example, if they go to places that we shouldn't be going to, but they're your friends, they're going there, you're going to find yourself going there with you, and you're going to get damaged. You're going to get hurt inside and outside, because that place is not a good place to be. But they're your friend, and that is a sign that they're acting in a foolish way. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Foolishness is like contagious, because when you're with them, you're bound to act like them in order for them to like you, and in order to them to actually include you. So I think that it's like a virus.
Yeah, it is like a virus. It's contagious. That's a really nice point. The more people around this that you're like, or the more the effects will be on you, you'll find yourself becoming in a way that you shouldn't be. Anyone want to add one final point?
Yes, I found a point.
Go ahead, Fazil.
I quite know this saying.
You know what the saying is?
Yes. So if you become friends with someone who's foolish, even if he tries to benefit you, he's going to harm you.
That is the spoiler to the answer. Oh, my son, Imam Ali says, you should avoid making friends with a fool, because he may intend to benefit you, but may harm you. So even if his intentions are good, or her intentions are good, if they're not someone who thinks about you and has care for you, even when they try to help you or they think they're trying to help you, they might be leading you away from them. Now, this is hard, because sometimes your friends might say nice things and good things, but what you don't realize is they're not thinking about important things like our safety, our health, our religion, our respect for our family, for going to school. They might be saying things that they think are benefiting you, but because they're not people who think and consider and are careful with their tongue, they might harm you. So Imam Ali is saying, like Fazil, I think you already knew where we were going with this one. They may intend to benefit you, but they will harm you. Anyone want to ask a question about this? Are we all okay? Okay. Can you hide something in your heart forever? Especially those who have not yet answered, I'll give you priority. Or you can just like literally answer to the rest of you. Is it possible, do you think, to believe in something, keep it in your heart and hide it forever? Anyone think yes? Anyone think no?
I don't think you can, because Allah Pak knows what's happening with you wherever you are and whenever.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Allah will know what you're hiding, no matter how like secretive you're being about it.
So Allah knows that you're hiding it, but then if you can't hide it in your heart forever, then what will happen? Is that Aiza in the background?
Yes.
When you forget something, when you don't hide something in your heart forever, you forget it.
So if you hide something in your heart forever, are you saying that you will forget it, or that it will not be forgotten?
It will be forgotten when it's
So
out of your heart.
we might forget that because if we hide something in our heart, we believe something. What this means is when you believe something, or you know you've done something, or you just don't want to talk about it, you keep it in your heart forever, something that you believe, someone you love, something like this. Can it stay there forever and ever? Now, someone might say yes, because you might forget it. But the truth is that if it's in your heart, it always finds a way to come out somehow. And Imam Ali Islam tells us how it comes out. He says that no, when a person conceals something in their heart, it manifests itself through either one, unintentional words from your tongue, or two, in the expressions of your face. So if you believe something in your heart that you don't want to tell anyone, don't think that that means that it will stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes by accident, you might mention something in passing that is related to that thing. Or sometimes your face expression might just show it. For example, let's say you've done something wrong. You don't want to tell anyone. You want to keep it a secret. If someone says, have you done this? You might say, no, I didn't do it. But your face might show a little bit of that cheeky look where they think, uh-oh, you can't hide the truth. And your face shows that expression. Another example, let's say you know something, but you don't want to tell anyone that you know it. And they're talking about that thing in front of you. You might not say, hey, I know, but you might accidentally mention something. And it's like, hey, how did you know that? If you know that this and this and this, and how did you? Hey, you must know. So that means that if it's in your heart, it will come out somehow. And that's why it's important to make sure that we are speaking, our tongue is spoken properly, and our behavior is good, so that we don't allow things in our heart that shouldn't be there to affect how we are with each other. Any questions about this point? Someone has written, I think it's Azan. No, because you can't, on judgment, Allah will say that you did forget, I'm omniscient. Oh, you're responding to something that Abdullah's writing, which is, their devotion to Allah will shine through, even if they're good Muslim, even through the darkest night. Oh, that was the point from before. Exactly. Even good deeds will always come out somehow, and so will bad deeds. All right, guys, good point. Next question. What might be the reason we become unwell sometimes? So we're living in a time a lot of people are getting sick and a lot of people are suffering because they're not well, and it's not pleasant. But there might be some lessons we can take from when we're not feeling well, or when others are not feeling well. So the question is, why do we think there could be some reason for not being well? Anyone got any ideas?
Can I say?
Yeah, Mustafa. If anyone else has got any ideas after Mustafa, please feel free to unmic or raise your hand. But Mustafa, go ahead first. What might be a reason why someone's unwell?
When others are sick, we should be grateful to Allah that He has like bestowed us with a healthy life, and some people out there are like have been born with a medical issue. So my point is, we should be grateful that we have a body, a full working body without any issues. And yeah, it's just so kind and merciful of Allah to give us this blessing.
Definitely, we should all be grateful. And when we see that we are not well, or someone else is not well, we remember that maybe I was not well, but now I'm fine. And I'm grateful Allah made me fine again. And similarly, if we see people who are different and going through different challenges, it does remind us to reflect on ourselves. This is true. I'd like to go a bit further. Amina, what would you like to add?
It shows that Allah has the power to do anything to us and how weak we truly are. Is it something that we can't help?
A great point. If we're not well, Allah is the one who decides and chooses these things, right? Even though we can do different actions which can keep our body healthy and safe, and we can do things to try and make sure that we don't get ill from certain things. For example, wearing a mask when you're going out around people these days, or make sure you get your jabs, your vaccines. We can try and make sure we're doing our best. But in some things, it is as if Allah chooses who is well and not well sometimes. And the point that I want to make to all of you is that there can be some wisdom and some reason why sometimes we go through difficulties and why we go through illnesses. There could be some reason from Allah. Anyone would like to offer what that reason might be before I go to what the Imam answers?
Yes.
Yes, Fazil.
What I would like to say is, because you disobey Allah, and Allah wants to teach you a lesson, so he makes you unwell.
Sometimes it's when we have done something wrong and we need to be reminded to go back on track. True, very true, Fazil. Sometimes it can be this. Other times, what else can it be, guys? Any other points about why we get unwell sometimes? What could be the reason why? What does Allah want from us? Well, what the Imam answers for this point is, sometimes Allah may make your illness a means for writing off your sins, because there's no reward for sickness except that it erases sins and makes it fall like dried leaves. So sometimes when you're not well, Allah forgives your sins just because you're not well. So you might have done something wrong. And while we're in a state of illness, just by being not well, Allah's rewarding us. It's something our body needs to go through to refresh itself with Allah. And the sins fall away in the same way that dried leaves fall from trees. They just slip off and they fly away. And inshallah, if a person recovers from their illness, they recover without certain sins affecting them. Now they can try again to pray and to do good deeds and to tell the truth and to be kind and give charity, because now they have their energy back and they learn from that time. But like we mentioned, it's not just about looking at sickness. It's not about reflecting back to sickness. It's even while you're not well, you're getting benefits from Allah, because some of your sins are being written off. We pray everyone has a good, inshallah, healthy life, and we don't have these sicknesses, we don't have these issues. But if you ever do, try to endure and have faith that I'm not well, but Allah knows that I'm not well. And if I'm patient and I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping strong and keeping healthy in my mind, many of my sins are being forgiven just because I'm not well. Same thing for people around you who are suffering. This is one of the reasons, not always why we're sick, but it's one thing that happens when we are sick. Okay, any comments or questions about this point before we move on? Abdullah, if you have a point, you can write it in the chat.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Mustafa.
Why is it that when we are sick, we are like closer to Allah?
Good, there's a good point. For this saying, when we do sins, we go away from Allah. And Allah wants us to come back to Him. And anytime we suffer in life, whether it's sinning or in general, if something's really hard for you, that is a test from Allah. And Allah tests us by putting us in different situations that are hard for us. And that helps us to develop and grow. And it's when we're in that phase of developing and growing that we grow closer and closer to Allah. That's when we shine more. That's when, in those dark, dark nights, that the stars shine even brighter. Because sometimes you need the darkness in order to see just how bright the light is. Sometimes you need to feel down just so you remember how great it is, how great the one is who brings you back up again. So in answer to your question, Mustafa, the answer could be that Allah makes sure that we go through different tests. Now, He never gives us a test that's more than we can handle, because He knows you, He knows what you're going through, He knows what you can take. He will not burden a soul with more than they can handle. So, but when you're in that test, He wants you to do well and succeed because that's for your growth. And all of us need to grow in life. Does that answer to your question, Mustafa?
Yes, so it's like the sickness a way to redeem yourself.
According to this hadith, yes. It's a way to redeem yourself if you use it in the right way. Now, if a person's sick and they say, oh, I hate Allah, He did this to me, and oh, what's the point? You become grumpy, and it's hard for you to be patient, you're not making the most of that moment. But if when you're sick, you just endure, you keep going, then yeah, it can be a chance to redeem yourself in the eyes of God and in the eyes of people. Great question, Mustafa. If there's any other questions, you can ask them now, but if not, then we will end them. Let me stop sharing. And that is the end of today's session. So I hope that you learned some of those sayings. They were useful and valuable for you, inshallah. And all of us can try and act on them, especially if we're struggling and going through hardship. Remember, Imam Ali is talking about a Lord who is there to help you, and that Lord will help you. Earlier today, we looked at that we cannot count the blessings of Allah. We cannot finish counting them. And now at the end, we are agreeing that if you're going through any hardships, you turn back to Allah. Okay, here is your mission for next week. Next week, I'm going to go through a lesson from the Imam which shows us how this whole universe is something we should use to thank Allah. But I would like to ask all of you to show me an example next week about how this world is a blessing from Allah. This whole world we're in. Find an example. It could be an example in the planet, from geography, from yourself, from biology, from wherever. It could be an example of something that Allah has created which shows His power. But I want you to bring to next week a point or a observation about how this world is a blessing from Allah. And then I will show you how the Imam Ali alayhi salam sees this world as a blessing from Allah in another lesson. Okay? So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find an example of how this world is a blessing from Allah. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. This was a great session. You did really well. Some really beautiful points. Are there any questions anyone wants to add now, or any points you want to raise? You can write it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Any questions? If not, then thank you so much, inshallah. See you next week. Take care, be safe, and I look forward to hearing your observations. Take care, guys. Khuda Hafiz. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much. Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz. Well done, guys. Khuda Hafiz. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Khudafis.
Thank you. No problem. Great points, Fazil and everyone. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz. Bye. Khuda Hafiz.
بولايتك يا عليو يا عليو